A very good morning to all my dear students. We are in Unit 3, wherein Unit 3 has four different parts. Part A talks about the President of the country. Part B talks about the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. Part C is titled as Lok Sabha and Part 4 is titled as Rajya Sabha. So we are in part A of third unit where we are studying about the president of the country. Students, in my two previous classes, I gave you the introduction about the president who is called as the nominal executive of the country. I also explained you that our country has adopted a parliamentary form of government wherein the nominal executive is the president and we have a prime minister along with the council of ministers who are called as real executive. We studied about the qualification required for the position of president, emoluments and allowances of the president, procedure required for election of the president. I made you all understand the special privileges given to the president of our country. And in our last class, we studied regarding the powers and functions of the president. In all, there were about 8 powers which were vested in the hands of the president. So, yesterday, when I was teaching you all the powers of the president, the eighth power, which was titled as emergency powers, were vested in the hands of the president. Students, the constitution of our country arms the president with enormous emergency powers. And when I speak about the emergency powers, these are basically divided into three categories: national emergency, state emergency, and financial emergency. So, today in our class, we are going to study about the role and powers of the president only and only during emergencies. It's a very small concept, easy to understand. Okay, so we are going to study the eighth power, which is titled as emergency powers in detail. So let me first give introduction and then start with the first emergency. See, if the constitutional provisions which are incorporated in the constitution work properly, there is peace which is existing in a country. This means that till the provisions of the constitution are stable, there is peace which is existing in our country. Now, sometimes it so happens that there is a sudden attack from different nations, or there is a possibility where there is a failure of law, or sometimes there is a failure of order. And hence, these provisions of the constitutions are suddenly ruled out. When there is attack, when there is a condition wherein there is a failure of law, there is failure of order which is taking place in our country, then what happens? The provisions of the constitutions are not in tune. Hence, what happened is the framers of the constitution were aware and knew that such situation could arise in our country. Hence, The framers of the constitution thought that they have to insert some provisions in the constitutions. They thought that they have to incorporate various provisions or articles in the constitution which could deal with such emergencies, or you can say could deal with such situations. I told you, when there is sudden attack from the different nation, when the people of our country are not adhering, are not binding, or there is failure of law and order which is taking place in our country, that is sudden. Okay, so what happens is there is situation arises wherein there should be stability in our country, and hence the framers of the constitution were aware that such situations could arise in future, and hence they incorporated several articles which purely spoke about the different emergencies of the country. Students, basically, there are three types of emergencies. First one is national emergency, the second one is state emergency, and the third one is financial emergency. So let us now start with the first type of emergency. I told you why this emergency takes place and the reason behind incorporating these articles to the provisions of the constitution. Okay? Now, what happens is there is national emergency which is incorporated or stated in Article 352. I'm speaking about the first type of emergency which is called as national emergency. Students, national emergency is caused by war. Second one is external aggression by outside countries. And third one is armed rebellion. Now, this national emergency can take place in whole of the country, means there can be national emergency in the entire country, or national emergency can arise only in a part of the territory of our country. There, the national emergency, once more I'm repeating, can be occurred, can be arises in the whole of the country, or sometimes it arises only and only in some parts of the country, or you can say in the parts of some territory. Now, when I speak about this national emergency, it is not necessary that there is external aggression, or you can say armed rebellion, which has actually happened in the country, wherein the president has the power, the president has to play an important role in proclaiming emergency. Proclaiming means declaring emergency. And students, you have to remember that the emergency can be only and only declared by the president of our country. Now, when I speak about external aggression, or you can say armed rebellion, it is not necessary that it should actually happen in the country. It can be declared by the president of our country, even if there is a possibility that in future there will be external aggression, or in coming days there will be armed rebellion. It is not necessary that it has actually happened in the country and then the president has to declare national emergency. No. If there is anticipation in advance, there are events which throw evidence or throw light that there is external aggression from different countries, or there is armed rebellion which is going to take place in the country. At that point of time, the president of our country can declare national emergency. Now, when I speak about national emergency, the president can declare it to the entire country, or in case he can also declare to a part of a territory. Students, there are many instances in which the emergency was being declared by the president of a country. In the year 1962, there was Indo-China War. Then during the Indo-Pakistan War in 71-75, the president declared emergency. Now, what is the procedure? The procedure to declare emergency will be done on the basis of written request, which has to be given by the different council of ministers. There should be a written evidence that yes, there is anticipation of external aggression, or there is war, or there is armed rebellion, and there should be a written request which has to be given by the council of ministers, which should be headed by the prime minister of our country. And very importantly, such a proclamation must be proved by the parliament within 1 month. Students, when I speak about the national emergency can be imposed for 6 months. The government or the president can declare emergency for a period of 6 months. But if there are instances or where there are situations wherein the condition of the country is not under control, or still if there is no stability, or if there is requirement wherein the national emergency has to continue, then again the same procedure has to be followed, wherein again there should be a written request which has to be given by the council of ministers, which has to be headed by the prime minister, and then this national emergency can be extended for a period of 6 months. So once more, I'm telling the first type of emergency is national emergency, which has to be declared only and only by the president of the country. And this is declared when there is war, there is external aggression which is taking place, or there is armed rebellion. It is not necessary that it should always happen, but if there is anticipation or if there is a possibility also, the president can declare national emergency. The powers are vested only in the hands of president, and very importantly, when the president is proclaiming national emergency, it must be proved by the parliament within 1 month, and there should be a written request which has to be sent by the council of ministers, which has to be headed by the prime minister, and later the president of our country will declare national emergency. National emergency can be declared for a period of 6 months. But I told you, when there are situations in which even the country's condition is not under control, at that point of time, the president can extend. But again, the same procedure wherein they have to give in writing, they have to be submitted by the Council of Ministers, headed by the PM, and then the emergency can be extended for the next 6 months. Okay? Now, let us understand what are the effects of national emergency. First and foremost, the most significant effect is that the federal form of constitution changes into the unitary form. Students, When I was teaching you all the silent features of the country, I told you our country's constitution is such that we have a blend of federal form of government as well as unitary form of government. Once more, I'm repeating. When I speak about federal form is what, and unitary form is what. I'll explain you. Federal form is wherein the powers are decentralized, the powers are being divided, the powers are distributed. And very importantly, when I speak about unitary powers means the powers are centralized in the hands of central government. So what happens? We have a central government wherein we have centralization of powers in the hands of central government. But when I speak about federal form means what? The powers are being divided, the powers are being distributed. In the hands of whom? State government. Later, the state government again distributes or divides the powers into different districts, then maybe different panchayats, etc. So we have a hierarchy wherein the powers of a country are distributed. So when there is national emergency, the federal form of the constitution completely changes. All the authority lies in the hands of the central government. The central government has the right to decide or have a control even on the state government. At that point of time, when there is a national emergency, all the powers are laid in the hands of the president in the form of central government. We do not have federal form. When the situation is normal or during the normal working of the constitutional provisions, we can assume that we follow a blend of federal form as well as unitary form. But when there is national emergency, we have only and only the central form of government. Next, the president can issue directions to the state. I told you, when there is a federal form, the state government is restrictive to take decisions. But when we have a unitary form, during the time of emergency, what does the president do? The president has a power, the president has the guide, the president guides, it directs, it gives directions to the state government also. Next, very importantly, during this period, students, the People's House, that is the Lok Sabha, can extend its tenure for a period of 1 year at that point of time. They have given special provisions wherein the period of Lok Sabha can be extended for a period of 1 year. But the same cannot be extended once the emergency proclaimed ceases. Ceases means comes to an end. Even this period has to come to an end. The tenure, or the, you can say that the length or the period of this Lok Sabha cannot be extended beyond it. Only and only during the time of emergency, the period of Lok Sabha can be extended to 1 year. Next, the president is empowered to modify the provisions regarding the distribution of revenues. So, what happens is, in our annual budget, we have several provisions given specifically for some divisions or some areas or for some jurisdictions. But when there is national emergency which is declared, the president of our country can modify, can reform, can change the provisions wherein he can distribute the revenues according to his terms and conditions, according to the necessity which he feels it to be very much important. It is in his hands how to distribute the revenues gained by the state or the country. Next, the effect of national emergency is that the fundamental rights which are conferred under Article 19 are automatically suspended. We have studied what are fundamental rights and we have studied what is Article 19. But still, I will give you all a glimpse. When I'm speaking about Article 19, All the citizens in our country have a right to freedom of speech, to assemble peacefully. But what happens is they have right to assemble peacefully without arms. They can form associations. They can move freely throughout the territory of the country. They can reside and settle in any part of the country. They can practice any profession, trade, or occupation. But when there is emergency declared, these fundamental rights are directly suspended. You as a citizen cannot move freely. You cannot form association of people. You cannot have assembly of people. And when there is emergency declared by the president of a country, automatically article 19 gets suspended. But once the emergency ceases, means comes to an end, then article 19 is back in its position, wherein again it gets its own separate status. But when I speak about national emergency, which can be only and only declared by the president of a country, it so happens that, first of all, the federal form changes into central government or unitary form. The president can direct, guide, give directions to the state. He can modify the provisions, and the tenure of Lok Sabha can be extended to make several provisions regarding the country. And once the emergency ceases, everything is again back to its place. Okay. Now, this was the first type of emergency. Now, let us start with the next type of emergency, that is state emergency. Students, first emergency was national emergency. The second is the state emergency. When I'm speaking about the state emergency is declared due to the failure of constitutional machinery in the state. I'm repeating it again. State emergency is declared due to the failure of constitutional machinery in the state. This emergency is also known as President's Rule. When I was speaking about national emergency was caused due to war, it was caused due to armed rebellion, and it was caused due to external aggression. But when I speak about state emergency, it is declared due to the failure of constitutional machinery. Now, what is this failure, or what is this constitutional machinery in the state? Let us understand. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. Now, when I speak about state emergency, students, state emergency is a situation which arises in the government of the state, wherein the state cannot be carried according to the provisions which are declared or which are incorporated in the constitution. When the people of our country are not adhering to the rules, orders which are incorporated in the constitution, there is an emergency which is declared, and people are not abiding to the constitutional provisions, and hence this emergency arises. Now, there is no exact meaning of what is failure of constitutional machinery, but I can surely tell you the reasons which lead to failure of constitutional machinery. So, when I'm speaking about state emergency, you have to understand that it is a situation in which the government cannot carry the provisions which are declared in the constitution of a country, and hence it leads to the failure of the constitutional machinery. This can be also regarded as the presidential rule. There is no definite meaning wherein I can explain you what is the failure of constitutional machinery. But surely I can give you a reasons, or I can give you the causes which lead to failure of constitutional machinery. So let's understand it. The reasons for state emergency are, students, see, when there is general election that takes place. Now, what happens after the general election? One political party has to take the authority. But when after election there is no political party which is able to form a particular government, then what we will have? We will have no government which will rule us, or no political party which will rule the government. At that point of time, generally after an election, a political party is selected, or you can say elected, and they form a particular government. Now, when there is a situation in the country wherein there is no political party, at that point of time, there is state emergency which can be declared by the president of the country. Next, there is ministry. There are council of ministers. And when the ministry resigns, says that no more we are going to continue, and there is no alternate government which is formed to take over that powers, means there is no one who can rule us. At that point of time, the president can declare the state emergency. Now, when there is a situation, I told you that we have a form of government which is centralized as well as decentralized. Or you can say we have a government wherein we are having a federal form of government as well as, you can say, federal as well as unitary. And when I speak about federal, I explained you that we have a government wherein the powers are divided into different state governments. And when I speak about unitary form, we have a government wherein the powers are centrally obliged to only one authority. Now, there are situations wherein the state government disobeys the instructions which are given by the central government. When the state government is not abiding, is not adhering to the rules, to the orders which have been given by the central government, at that time, the president of the country will rule out the federal form, will rule out the decentralization distribution of powers, and directly the central government will take power and the president of a country will declare emergency. Next, if the situation arises wherein the government purposefully neglects to deal with the internal disturbances, when there are disturbances, when there are situations in which the country is not at peace, there are conflicts, there are disturbances or hindrance which is taking place. At that point of time, there is no stability in our country. At that point of time, the government of our country has to properly take the authority, try to resolve the issues, and aim at peace. But if the government is not in a position to take control over the people and maintain peace and order in our country, then the president has the power to declare state emergency, because you have to maintain, it is a duty, fundamental duty to maintain peace and order. And if the people of our country are not adhering to the peace and stability, then the president of our country can declare state emergency. Students, there are situations in which there is natural calamity which hits the state. in the form of droughts, floods, earthquakes, etc. So when there are natural calamities, which hits the state, when the people are not able to match up to all, you can say, the disturbances which occur due to natural disasters, at that point of time, the president of the country can declare state emergencies. Now, I am repeating again, when can a state declare state emergency, or when can a president declare state emergency? When I speak about state emergency, it is declared due to the failure of constitutional machinery. And there is no exact definition which can state what is a failure of constitutional machinery. So I have given you reasons wherein the situations are caused, or there is situation which arises which leads to the failure of constitutional machineries. So these are the reasons wherein there is no proper political party to take the charge of the government, when the ministry resigns, when the state government is disobeying the instructions, the laws, the orders, is not adhering to the rules which are formed by the central government, when there is disturbance caused in the society, when there is natural calamity which hits the state. At that point of time, the president can declare the state emergency. Students, the duration of the state emergency is only and only for 2 months. If in this 2 months also the situation is such that it is not under control, at that point of time, it has to again be approved by the parliament, and they should get approval for extension of this state emergency. However, once they get approval, they can extend it to the next 6 months. Okay. Now, I can give you examples of different states who have declared state emergency. But in our country, in the year 1951, Punjab was the first state to declare the state emergency. Okay. Now, let us understand what are the effects of imposition of the president's rule in a state. Means I'm telling you all, or I'm explaining you all, what are the effects of imposition of the president's rule, or you can say what are the effects of imposing state emergency in our country. First of all, the president can assume to himself that all the powers, all the functions of the state government are vested in his hands, which I've already explained you here. When I was explaining you all that when there is no government which is formed, or when I speak about here, when the state government disobeys the instructions which are given by the central government, the central authority takes over the state government. All the parts, all the functions are vested in the hands of the president. The central government is the authority which controls the state government, and the effect is such that the president is the person who will be considered as the sole authority to take decisions, to administer the entire running of the government. So first effect is that once the state emergency is being declared, the president is the sole authority who takes the decision, who has the power to look after the administration of the entire country. At that point of time, when the president is in rule, there is no decentralization, there is no division of authority. The president is the sole authority to take decisions. Next, the governor administers the state in the name of the president. So if the president can take charge wherein he can distribute the powers in the hands of the governor. Now, who is a governor? Governor is the head of the state. So he can decentralize power in the hands of government to look after the administration of the different states, because it so happens that if the central government is taking authority, there are different states in our country, and the president has to look over all the states. So what he does, he takes the charge, but he takes the charge in the name of the governor, who administers, who looks into affair of all the working of the state and reports it to the next hierarchy, who is the president of the country. Next, when there is imposition of the president's rule, at that point of time, the legislative assembly can be dissolved. The is dissolved means discontinued, or the legislative assembly can remain suspended. Next, when there is a declaration of the state emergency, the president may authorize the parliament to make laws on behalf of the state legislative. He may ask when there is a need that when there is a need of the hour, that there is a need for making laws, the president may authorize the parliament to make laws, and there is a formal procedure wherein it has to pass to both the houses and all. So that complete authorization is given by the president of the country. Now, let us study the next emergency, that is financial emergency. Students, if the president is satisfied that there is an economic situation which the financial stability or the credit of India is threatened, he can proclaim financial emergency. Now, first emergency was national emergency, the second emergency is the state emergency, and third one is financial emergency. In short, I will tell you. Article 360 says that when there is financial instability, when the credit of a country is threatened, when there is the situation, economic situation arises, when there is no stability which is maintained in terms of economy of a country, at that point of time, the president of a country can declare financial emergency. So let us understand what are the effects of financial emergency. First and foremost, same thing. The union government may direct to any of the states regarding the financial matters. We have a centralized form of government as well as decentralized. So the central government can take authority over the state government and look into the matters regarding the finances. They can interfere in the financial matters of the state also. The president has power wherein he may ask the state governments to reduce the salaries and allowances. Now, he can ask to reduce the salary and allowances of whom? Of certain class of persons in case of government services. And it only and only happens during financial emergency. Next, the president may ask the state to reserve all the money bills for the consideration of parliament after they have passed by the state legislatures. I already told you in my last class. Money bill is passed only by the president, and very importantly, he can reserve the money bills. He has the power to reserve the money bills. Now, when there is financial emergency which is declared, students, he can even reduce the salary of judges of High Court as well as Supreme Court. So when I speak about financial emergency which is declared by the president of a country, students, you have to just understand that when there is economic instability, or if there is financial instability that arises in our country, or a situation wherein the credit flow of a country is threatened, at that point of time the president of a country can declare financial emergency. Now let us understand about the vice president of a country. Just for your general knowledge, for just 5 minutes, I will explain you all about the vice president. Okay? But you have, for your examination point of view, you have to only concentrate on the president of the country. Okay? Now, when I speak about the vice president, his tenure of service is 5 years, and he has a status wherein he acts as the ex officio chairman of the Council of States. Now, when I speak about Council of States, it includes both the houses, which is called as Rajya Sabha, and very importantly, when I speak about Council of State, it clearly speaks about Rajya Sabha, and he is declared as a ex officio chairman. The tenure of the service is same as that of the president, wherein he renders a service for the post of president for a term of 5 years. Next, when I speak about the election procedure, the vice president of our country is elected by an electoral college as explained during the presidentship or while explaining you all the procedure for election of a president, wherein here also the vice president is elected indirectly, not like the prime minister of the country who is elected directly. Here, the members of both the houses of parliament, that is upper house and lower house, the representatives cast their vote, and the members cast their vote through secret ballots, which I had already explained you. Secret ballots means the votes are kept highly confidential. The vice president is elected indirectly. Next, the qualification is he must be a citizen of India. He must be completed a age of 35 years. He should be a member of Raj Sabha. And very importantly, he should not hold any office of profit under the central government or the state government. I've mentioned here Lok Sabha. Please excuse me for that. Very importantly, when I'm speaking about the President of India, Vice President specifically, he should be a citizen. He should be completing the age of 35 years. He should be elected member of Rajya Sabha, and he should not hold any office of profit under the central or the state government. Next, when I speak about the responsibility of the Vice President, students, the Vice President of India acts like a president in his absence. Now, I told you when there is a vacancy of the president. Now, sometimes a situation arises wherein the president of our country confers all the powers in the hands of the vice president. Now, situation arises wherein the office becomes vacant due to maybe death. I told you, explained you the reasons for vacancy of president. Then removal, resignation. At that point of time, the vice president of our country acts like the president. Otherwise, he also has a separate status wherein he has been regarded as the chairman of Rajya Sabha. So, this is about the vice president. Once more, I'm repeating when I'm speaking about the vice president of our country, the tenure is for 5 years and he has a status wherein he is the chairman of Rajya Sabha. Election is same like that of a president. Here, the members of both the houses, the representatives, elect him. Next, the qualification is he must be a citizen. He has to be completed the age of 35 years. He should be a member of Raj Sabha and he should not hold any office of profit. Next, when I speak about the vice president, if the president is not able to discharge his functions, the vice president takes over and discharges his function. With this, we completed part A of Unit 3. Students, we spoke about different concepts here. Just I will go through all the concepts. First of all, we started with President of India, the introduction. Then we spoke about Article 52, qualifications required for the election of President of India, emoluments, allowances of President, procedure for election of President, vacancy of office of President, impeachment, procedure for impeachment, next, privileges, special privileges of the President, powers and functions of the president. There are around 8 powers. In today's class, we spoke about the eighth power, which speaks about the role and powers of president only and only during the time of emergency. All the three powers, national emergency, state emergency, and financial emergency. Effects of all the three. We spoke about the vice president, the term, the election procedure, qualification, and responsibility. With this, I conclude the part A of Unit 3. Tomorrow, we are going to take up part B of Unit 3, which speaks about the Prime Minister of the country. Thank you. Have a good day.